What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Ghost Gabbers, where we talk about ghosts.
And hopefully two ghosts.
Exactly. I am your boy Joe.
And I am Jason.
And today we're going to be going over a couple other things. If you've been checking out our other videos, we thank you guys so much. Remember to click on like and subscribe. We need some more people just to come and view what's going on. And for the most part, this is paranormal chat, if you will. What we're talking about is not necessarily what we do on our investigations just yet. We are talking about the different tools that we bring and what we trust and believe in.
This episode, we're going to get into a little bit more about locations, about how do you find locations, how do you go to a location. One important thing is getting permission to be in a location, because we personally don't believe in trespassing, because yes, we love to do this, but it's not worth getting $1,000 ticket or even more.
And my wife also says she's not going to bail me out. So therefore, we have to monitor those things.
Since I got nobody to bail me out.
Exactly. So on that note, today's session, what we're going to be going over is locations. Where do we know where to go? How do we find out about these places? Some places, it's very simple to just Google search anything.
Right.
You just go into the search engine and you just type in haunted locations, and then you can specify in a certain city, in a certain town, in a certain state, in California, or even go into the United States, where in the country is haunted. And we got a paranormal bucket list for the entire country. So that'll be fun.
Okay, so one thing about when you go on these sites, they're going to give you tons of places to go. Each place is going to have different stories associated with it. So do your research on each one. Find the stories that interest you to go to that place. And if you decide to go to that place, before you go there, do more research. Because a lot of things online are just urban legends or stories passed down or made up to attract people to go to these places.
Yeah, and some of the things that we've come into conflict with are reputable sources. So we've actually come into contact with some of the entities that post things. And as we're reading along, there's nothing backing those claims up. So there is no evidence to prove that this ever took place. Like Jason was saying, urban legends, myths, they're fun and they're great to talk about. And you can make a ghost story just out of a twig and a couple grains of sand.
Slender Man, right? Slender Man, we found out was just a made up story.
Exactly.
A lot of people take credibility in it because it's on the internet. Woo!
Exactly. So just take it as a grain of salt. The places that we like to go to, one, you're looking at things that the energy level, it ceases to exist in a physical presence. So if I were to die right in this spot, you'd think that my energy would stay in this spot, not necessarily where my body goes. So in those cases, we have done cemeteries where we've gotten evidence, but that's not necessarily where they died.
Right.
Or was it? Because the land itself was not created when the cemetery was created.
Right.
This land, this world that we live in, is pretty much a huge graveyard.
Exactly.
So we don't know what took place on this property a long time ago. How far down was it before they added more land, more dirt to create a level platform to build the house on? We don't know. But what we do know is we can find out the history of any location by going to your historical landmarks. You can go into historical societies, talking to people. You can go to your local libraries. You can bring all of the research that you want to. And if you don't find anything that's credible, then it can almost become an urban legend.
So along those lines, what he's saying is you don't know where is on that land. So like a house, just because it has energy in it, we don't know if it's people that were there, that lived there, or what was on the land before. Along those lines, let's go to, I'm going to use the Queen Mary. We live in the area as an example. That had the energy on it before it was placed in the spot it was placed in. So things like that, or sometimes houses that are like older houses have been moved from one location to another. So the energy was trapped there in another spot and went with it. Another thing with that is when you go to a place, it might not be the land, it might not be the property, it could be an object in the property. It could also be the people that live there. Very misnomer about that is that we create energy in negative or positive ways that allows spirits to manifest in those ways, whatever we're putting out, positive or negative.
Exactly. And,
so be careful with that.
And I was told, I forget who told me this, but it's one of those things where whatever the energy is, whatever the greater energy is going to be victorious.
Right.
If you have, let's just say, 10 people and 7 of them are positive and 3 are negative, the positivity is going to win. So the element or the ambiance of the room might be more positive, so that's going to generate a little bit more. Now, flip the script. 7 people are negative, 3 are positive. Negativity is going to override. It's going to drown out that positivity.
So more likely to draw the negative entity
exactly
instead of the positive one.
And the possibilities of actually getting something to manifest with more negativity is more realistic, or it just may seem more that it's going to happen that way.
So sticking along those lines, that's good when it comes to picking a team that you want to be with.
Exactly.
Make sure, first of all, that you actually like these people and they are like-minded.
Yes. Having some people that don't have the same beliefs as you is not a bad thing.
No.
But you also want to have some people that, as long as you guys can stay on the same playing field, we don't have to be 100% in compliance. But as long as we can agree to disagree, you're already on the right path.
That's actually, in our opinion, that actually works out better, because in the long run, you're going to get better results. You don't want everybody to be on total in step with each other, and you're going to have the same results every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even within us, we don't agree on everything. We don't disagree on everything.
No.
But we also understand that each person's coming from a different standpoint. And within our third member, Darlene, she also is very intuitive about certain things, and she has the sound of like a canine. She can hear things that we can't, and we disprove everything that we've seen and heard. And she's like, "Hey, what's this?"
Right.
And she'll just point it out. I'm like, "What is this?" And we amplify the sound. Something is there.
Exactly.
Everybody else is going to bring something to the team. We're not discrediting her, but if we can't hear it, but she does, I'm like, no, there's something there. We have to take that in consideration.
So that goes along those lines too, is you're going to have your skeptics, cool. You're going to have your believers, cool. You're going to have your people that are intuitive, and you're going to have your people that are super intuitive, via mediums, psychics. If
empaths.
You know, empaths. And if you know people like that and they're willing to be on your team and go with you, that's great, because you're going to get even more results. But also be aware that these people have these abilities and that it affects them differently especially when you go into a negative situation. So don't ever push them to use their abilities. Allow that to happen naturally in the space, in the time. Yeah.
For us, like I said, within Jason, myself, and our other colleague, Darlene, within us 3, that's our core group of whenever we're going to go someplace, that's usually who we like to go with, because we know each other's schedules. We can work around it. We can try and get everything going. There are times where we bring other people that are coming along. Anybody who says they want to come and do it, we've had a lot of people say they want to, and at the last second have to drop out. Life happens. We get it.
Right.
Work happens. Family happens. And it's nothing against anybody, but we're still going to continue going on.
So you want to keep that core group always, like we're saying, like-minded.
And small.
Small, yes. Because obviously the more people you have on an investigation, the more background interference you're going to have, the more you're going to have to disprove stuff. The more in-house bickering becomes. It just doesn't become fun.
Yeah. And the moment you lose the fun factor of ghost hunting, it kind of doesn't work anymore.
Right.
You lose the flair for it, and not just the flair. You possibly can lose your friendships over it.
Exactly.
And it's not worth it.
No.
Because other than ghost hunting and collecting tools and playing around with these the gadgets and the gadgets, it's gadgets. We're going to play with gadgets too.
So for us, it's truly about the camaraderie. We love to go to these new places, and it's not just about the paranormal. It's also about the history of a lot of these places. But it's just about spending that time together. That's why I'm saying make sure you like these people, because there's going to be times when you go on an investigation and you can be there for several hours and have absolutely nothing happen. So you got to be able to spend the down and the up time with each other.
Exactly. And within touching base on that, we can actually talk about, since we're going over locations and teams, some of the locations that we've gone to, we keep everything based more in California, more SoCal than anything, but we're willing to travel out, which
Right.
we have done. We've gone to Calico just to more scout than anything. We found out that we can do an overnight investigation there, so that's going to be coming soon. We've gone to the Queen Mary. We've gone to the Whaley House in San Diego, Old Town San Diego, where El Campo Santo Cemetery down the street. The Cosmopolitan is in Old Town. We're going to try and see if we can get a spot over there. Heard some good things about
Well,
that.
like you said, we have a bucket list and we can go on for that for a long time.
Forever.
Right. But it's interesting what he's talking about as you listen to him is, yes, we do investigations during the day, because the whole thing of you have to be there at night, it has to be dark, it has to be 3 o'clock in the morning. No. Because if there's energy in a place, there's energy in a place, and it's going to show itself anytime it wants. Now, yes, nighttime is a little cooler and a little spookier and all that fun stuff, but don't be fooled by that. Please, yeah, and that goes back to doing your research, because a lot of places you might not even have access at night. So, and be careful too, the places that do have access at night. We're looking into a few places in a location here in California that are offering nighttime uh, tours, but they're a little pricey.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
For us, we sometimes do these things. We call them scouting missions. We go out first. We scout the place out. We hear the stories of what they have to say, and we do our research as well. So if everything comes together, getting a little bit more knowledge never hurts.
Exactly.
Learning if we can gain access to go after hours, or if it's only available during hours. One of the places that we found out, we did through, if you guys want to check these guys out, these Orange County ghost tours. They have multiple places within Orange County. We went to a place, Black Star Canyon. The guy was very knowledgeable of the history of the land, the Native Americans who used to live there, which tribe it was, some of the history that was there, some of the claims that are going around. But we also know that we met 2 girls that were there who weren't even part of our thing. They specifically were waiting for us later down to try and scare us. So in those cases, you have the manipulation of where people are trying to do something just to try and get that little scare factor. So you don't know if it's actual people or if it's actually going to be paranormal. And in that case, we know where the location is. We know the history of it. And because we walked the trail, we know exactly where the stopping points were.
Right.
So we can go back and we could try and recreate everything, and we don't have to have a large group that we had. We can condense it back down to our 3 original crew, right, or anybody else who's willing to go on that walk.
And along that, when you're looking for places, don't be afraid to reach out to other paranormal groups that are on social media. Just ask nice, simple questions. Be respectful. Always be respectful.
Always.
And that even goes to when you're doing an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Always be respectful. Don't provoke, because always, there's a saying: "Be careful what you ask for." So
you'll get it.
But there's everybody out there that's doing this. Well, most people that we've come across are open to helping other people, because we all want to prop each other up.
Exactly.
Because that's the way it should be. We talked about this in another episode.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for advice, looking for locations, want to talk about equipment, don't be afraid to ask other people.
Exactly. Because we've had people ask us about the equipment that we use, or they've even asked us about what equipment would you recommend. Everything is based off of preference. There's
Right.
something that you don't see here right now that we're talking about that we want to get, which is the REM pod, which it actually can grab from an EMF standpoint. It can grab radiation. So any level that comes around, if you just have something, the antenna, anything that gets close by and you go and touch it, it's going to get triggered off. So you walk away, a radiation is going to detect. It's going to also detect heat temperatures. So if it's hot or cold and it all of a sudden hits, a cold draft, usually if that hits, there's a spirit that's close by. It will trigger it off. It starts lighting up. It starts making sounds.
Should have probably talked about that in our equipment one,
Maybe
but that's all right.
It's okay. It's just tools that are,
Right.
it's different methods and different tools.
As you see, we have no script.
There is no script.
There's just
This is raw footage.
and there's no script for the way to do it.
No.
Yeah, everybody has their own way. We're going to talk about some of those ways in another episode, but also we wanted to touch on location and team, and they kind of go hand in hand because
if you go do a residential, you don't want a huge crew.
And
you do not.
Never divulge where that person lives, because you don't want to have a bunch of groups knocking on their door, because you wouldn't want it to happen to you. So don't do it to other people.
Exactly. So on that note, as for your teams, we recommend keeping a small group. 2 people is almost max. If you go solo, there's a bunch of people that do solo acts. You know what?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong. If you're not afraid to do it, do it. You grab 2 people. Having somebody to back your claims up is almost as good as having it on footage.
Well, plus, if you have more people, then you tend to have a little bit more equipment, such as cameras, where you have a better chance of actually catching something.
Exactly. 3, you pretty much do the same thing. You can cover more ground at once. 4, almost getting a little bit out of hand, but as long as somebody's delegated to something to do, you should be fine. Anything bigger than 4, unless you're doing something like Waverly Hills. Yeah, you want
my number one.
You would definitely want to have a bigger crew to try and take care of that. And also, this is not going to handle Waverly Hills.
No.
We're going to need a lot more cameras. We're talking DVR system. That's a whole other issue in itself.
Right.
But on that note, we are the Ghost Gabbers. We talk about ghosts.
And hopefully 2 ghosts.
I'm Joe.
I'm Jason.
And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Ghost Gabbers out.